Hi, I'm Trnka with World Championship Blacksmiths, and this is another episode of Intro to the Basics. And we've had a lot of requests for running a coke fire and just kind of how you, basic things you do and you don't do. But one of the hardest things and most aggravating things that happens when you get a coke forge or you get one going is you don't realize how hard it is to get it lit. So I have a side blast. But this is basically the same as a bottom blast. Everything works pretty much the same except where the air comes from. But what we have is a 20-pound cylinder, a barbecue regulator, and a piece of gas pipe with a T-valve. All this stuff can be put together from a local propane shop. And there's 3/16 holes, 3 of them. And they are in the end of the gas pipe. Make the wand as long as you want. You make it too long, then it always wants to fall out. So this one's about 2 foot. They sell a 2-foot pre-threaded section at Home Depot, and this is what we light it with. And basically, we come over here. I just keep going. Got it in the center, and that'll just take a second to get going. All right, once we got the fire going, we just got her going. It's about medium sized. We're gonna bank some coke around the side. The thing that you have to understand is that you do not want to tip things down into the fire. Like if you're working on a pritchel or something that you're going to redress and you're never going to let go of it, it's good to get a quick heat by tipping it down. But the fire is basically like a funnel. The flame, where the air source is it's at its smallest. And so the more you bank it, the more it goes upward and outward. And so if you have a small fire, you've got too much direct heat, and it just is a small direct heat. You can't really work in a coke fire that way, so you have to have a bigger fire to where you have more radiant heat. The more radiant heat you have, the more you can set shoes on the side of it without actually burning them. You can get a radiant heat, but if you're over the top of the air source, it's just a matter of time before you burn something up, before it starts and you melt something. So if you have a small fire, then you have no choice to be over the top of your air source. But if you have a large fire, now you have this whole area, the gray area that goes out. And that's the area where you don't have a direct air source, but you have radiant heat. So this fire, as it grows, it's going to get bigger. The thing that you have to understand is that when you stick steel in there, you stick steel in flat. If you start sticking steel in like this, you're obviously going to get an uneven heat, and you're going to get more heat here than there, and you just end up burning. If you stick things in there flat, and you keep them, like if I'm going to work 2 pieces of steel, what I will do is I stick one directly over the heat source. I set the other one, obviously, you can see right next to the line that I've made. That's the line of the radiant heat. So then I'll wait just a second. You want to constantly be checking it. You have your internal clock, but if you're just a beginner, you don't have any internal clock. You don't know what's happening. So then what you do is you pull it out a little bit. And you see how your heat is going. This is at this time, if I'm not on my center punch mark, that's how I know to adjust this other piece of steel, because if my heat is this side of my center punch mark, then I know I need to pull this piece out a little bit more, because these two are your cheaters. So if this one, so if my heat is that side of my center punch, then I know I have to stick it in. So as soon as you find out what your center is, or your toe bend center heat is, this other side is the marker that tells you exactly where the center of your heat will be. So like I say, if I'm too far in, I pull it out. Oh my gosh, that's too far in. So I pull it out. Now I know to pull this one out just a little bit. So whenever I go to make my toe bend, I'll be exactly in the center of my toe. That's the second piece is always your judge. On my air gate, I have my air gate over here. If I'm working in my own leisure, I have my air gate to where it's working me just about to where I get done with a toe bend. I come out, I have my heat on the stock, I go back in, the other piece is ready. The air gate, if you have this air gate going wide open, then you won't be working in a comfortable tempo unless you're really quick and you're really handy on the anvil. But it's best to try and find the correct air gate temperature or speed of airflow to where the fire is working for you, not working you. And so what you have is you have a piece of steel. Again, we have this circle. This circle, the second piece of steel that you're working is always, the bigger the fire, is always going to intersect just inside of the edge of where the fire is at. So you always stick it here, and then that way you don't ever have to worry about it. You can visit, you can go inside and use the bathroom, and you'll get a radiant heat. Then when you come back to that second piece, you come back, you have a little bit radiant heat, you stick it in the center, you wait a second, and it's boom, you pull it out, and you have a hot piece of steel. If there's anything I could tell you about running a coke fire, is that build it up to where you have a bank, to where it feeds itself. If you don't have enough money for a coke fire, don't buy a coke fire. Don't buy. You have to buy coke. You have to fill it up on the edges. If you don't have enough coke, then it's an irritating expense that you want to deal with. We bring it in, bring it out. We have heat in the center of our material. Another quick trip before we finish off is that so you don't constantly dragging your fire out, is that before you bring it out, just lift up and in a little bit. Then when you pull it out, you're not dragging the coke out of it and you're leaving your coke undisturbed. Push it in. When you bring a piece of steel out, go forward a little bit, bring it out. But just dragging, you don't want to constantly be dragging things out of your fire because you're constantly having to rebuild it. And regardless if you keep a tidy fire or not, you should always, when you get done, you got your stock on the side. Don't be afraid to just push up your fire and rebank it. All of these things take very, very little time to keep going, and that's what when you cool your tongs down and when you take a little bit of a breath, these are the things where you reset your fire and you keep things from burning up. Remember, air gate, not wide open. Don't slam the air gate shut, slap it open because you can never get into a tempo. Just keep it to where to get into a rhythm, you want to just be able to come up to the fire and not quite be ready to be pulled out. And then if you're like a staunch competitor, that then you know exactly how far in you want to put your piece of stock into the edge of the fire so that you have more heat. And there's people who push the edge where you get a spark when you come back. That's all fine and dandy, but if you're just beginning, you're going to burn up a lot of coke and a lot of bar stuff and be really disappointed. So take your time and always come back to the fire and let it be just not quite hot enough, and then you can work up to how far you want to get to this center of your fire. We hope this helps, and in the comments if you could tell us what you'd like to see, it sure helped because we get a lot of feedback, and this was one of them. So thanks a lot, and we hope you have a good day.